You're not in competition with Matt Rife. That's another thing I had to realize.
Yeah, everybody talking shit on Matt Rife. You're not in competition for
You're
it.
gross.
You know why? Because he's blowing your ugly ass out of the water. If you think you're in if I thought that I was in competition with Matt Rife, I was like, an eating competition? That's about the only one I'm winning.
You ever like, I've done this. This is going to be really embarrassing to admit. I've sung along with a rap song or rap lyrics or reggae lyrics in public so people know that I know it. Is that really?
Oh, wow. Like so if Regulate comes on at a bar.
Well, not Regulate, but no, I mean like.
Or more of like an obscure rap song.
If it's like Wu-Tang or it's like Mobb Deep, where I'm like, part of me is doing it. Not that part of me is just singing the song, but part of me is like.
I want these people to think I'm
street
cool.
Cred. Yeah.
Yeah. I want some street cred.
Do you see what I'm saying? Have you done it?
I 100% understand what you're saying. I'm sure I've done that. I don't know.
Like I know all the lyrics to Scenario by Tribe Called Quest and Leaders of the New School. It's a very specific time period. I want people to know like I know rap from this era because that's when I grew up. Which I do know it, but I mean like who gives a shit if people know that I know?
It's true.
It's a very like insecurity thing where I'm like, no, I'm a goofball, but look, I'm cool. I have this hip hop knowledge. I can get jiggy with it.
Or you're kind of thinking like somebody sitting there is like, wow, this white boy likes hip hop. He's cool.
I think that's the dream.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely the dream. I think the dream is you have some cool black guy to go, you know this?
Is it? Damn, I know you got down like that, Donnelly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you want.
That's what you want, yeah. And I can't say that it's happened.
Well, I told you I've lied about knowing things.
I think everybody does that. In movies, it happens. Somebody does. What's his name? Does a bit about you. Oh, Norm Macdonald does that. You ever just lie out of nowhere? You see that movie and you go, yeah.
Well, somebody will say something like, I don't listen to any new music really. Like it's very rare that I'll be listening to new music. Yeah. And somebody like I'll just say something like, ugh, I think Drake stinks. And then they'll be like, wait, did you even listen to his last 2 albums? And then I go, yeah, just didn't like them.
But that's more of a fun lie.
What was your favorite? Okay, which songs didn't you really like? The third one on album 2.
And also, anybody like if I was there, well, because I know you well enough, but people should know you're breaking balls if you literally say the third one, the third track, or you're saying even like tone. People know you're like, oh, you're messing with me. Like, of course.
I mean, again, it's kind of what I did with Jaws. Is I barely watched the movie, and I know we have beef about this, but like, it's just maybe it's because it didn't stick with me when I saw it when I was a kid, and then watched parts of it on TV, and it may felt dated at the time I watched it. And I just blanketed said stinks.
Well, we had beef. You and Andy Fury had a blood vendetta, like some old school Sicilian type stuff.
We argued about it on your Sirius show. Like, he was like, "What the fuck? I didn't know we had to have statements prepared for this." Well, I have a bone to pick with you. I think sometimes you feel like I am people pleasing when I'm not.
Yeah, but me thinking that doesn't come from a magical place.
I know, but did you say magical?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Meaning like it's not coming out of thin air.
No, it's not coming out of thin air, but I want you to know that when to let the viewers and listeners know is you asked me if tomorrow I wanted to drive to this pizza place that your friend has that looks pretty good in Long Island.
Well, no, my buddy John is a chef. He does a pizza pop-up. It's called Two Birds Artisan Pizza. Follow them on Instagram. He just started it. Look at the pictures and tell me you're not going to drive out to freaking Long Island and see it. I'm meaning it, but if you're in the area, go check it out. He does it every Tuesday from 11 to 2 at Sandstone Market. But yes,
is he paying us for that ad drop?
We'll get 10% off.
I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it from the episode. But you said, "Hey, would you want to go there tomorrow and try their pizza? Would you want to drive out there?" And you were like, "I'll buy your pizza." And I stopped a second to think, oh, do I have anything to do tomorrow that would inhibit me of doing that? And I don't know. And it is something that I would like to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could say yes yet. So I'm just holding my options open.
Okay. That we hashed it out, I'll believe you going forward. It only happened like 1 or 2 other times when I was like, And it was going out because I know that sometimes you don't like saying. Sometimes it's for other reasons, and you're like, I'm not gonna go out. And it's like, it's fixable reasons, and you might want to go out, but you don't. Stuff like that. And sometimes, or saying maybe, and it's people pleasing because you feel obligated. I would think.
Yeah, I don't feel. I mean,
It's the crux of the show.
Sure, but now we are at the point where I think
we're getting stronger day by day.
You're a close enough friend.
Yeah.
And you're somebody that knows. I mean, we talk in depth about that. So it's like I feel comfortable being like, hey, I got the heebie-jeebies or whatever you would call it. I can't, I don't want to go do that. I'm fucking poor, and I don't want to tell everybody how poor I am, and don't want to spend all my money on beers tonight, or like I just don't. See, that's something that you can't get away with anymore. I feel like with a lot of friends
saying no
is saying no, man. Like, I think the meanest thing you can do to a friend is ask why when they say they don't want to do something.
Yeah, because I agree. I think we should, and I'm guilty of this as well. We should just take no for an answer and be like, all right, man. But I think sometimes it's coming from a good place. Like, you can argue that people want to be wanted, and they want to be hung out with, and you're one of those people. So that in your case, if somebody's going, "What up, man? Come on, let's just blah blah blah," it's coming from a place of like, I really want to hang out with you.
Yeah,
and that's a good sign. Because I've had people where it's like, "Hey, man, you want to come to this thing?" And they're like, "I can't." All right, man. Talk to you later. All right, man. See you next year. Whatever. So I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. But I agree with you where it's like, hey, we should just be able to take the answer no, and that's it.
Have you ever known somebody had something to do and you invited them just to be nice?
I've known somebody
there's been people.
We call it a Michael Scott. Remember that Michael Scott scene where he goes, I have my other job tonight, when he's a telemarketer, and then
Jim's like, do you want to hang out?
You want to have dinner at our house? And he's like, oh, and it's actually a really sad scene.
Yeah.
Because he's such a good actor, Steve Carell, that you're like, you really feel bad for him. He can't go to their house for dinner because he's going to this sad telemarketer job. But that's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Hey, you find out somebody's busy, so you're like, hey, man, you want to come? I don't think I've ever done that purposely. I've done that inadvertently. Like, I've done that and found out they're going to be somewhere I knew they were going to be after the fact. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You'd be at that.
I've done it purposely.
You have. Because you found out. But here's the thing. The tricky part about that is they can't know they have plans. Like, it's a really weird, it's a very hard thing to do. It has to be the thing where you have information they don't have. So you found out somebody had to go to, a show or something or whatever it is. And then that's when you, playing dumb, have to be like, oh, man, you want to do a hang tonight?
Yeah. And
that's when they go, I can't. I got this thing. All right, man. Because if they know that
they'll be pissed.
There's a chance.
I'll be like, oh, shit, I totally forgot you were going to be out of town.
Yeah,
man, it would be fun.
But it's very easy out. It's an easy out. Yeah. You go, oh, that's right. You got to do that thing. Oh, that's right. But I don't think I've ever purposely done it.
I've done it a couple times. I think it's mean.
It is mean, but I get it in a way. It's hard to just tell somebody you don't want to hang out. That's what you're saying. You're kind of proving the point about earlier about saying no. But how long ago? Was it pre-New York or was it New York?
Pre-New York.
Pre-New York.
Yes.
Yeah, but I get it. I gotta be honest. The more I'm less and less offended the older I get. You could pretty much. I think I told you this a while ago. You could pretty much tell me you don't like me to my face. I think I'd be hurt, but I'd be like, if it was somebody I liked and I thought liked me, I'd be hurt. But I'd kind of be like, say la vie, to each his own. And here's the thing. I'm a friendly guy. I'm liked by most, but not all, I would have to assume. So it's easier for me. If you're an asshole who's not liked at all, you'd be a little bit more sensitive maybe to the topic. But to me, I am at the point now where I don't care as much as I used to about being like, oh my God, man, glad handing.
Would you ever want to hear, would you want to be able to read minds?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think
it's related to what we're talking about.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. First motion is to say yes. First movement is yes, of course. Who wouldn't want some kind of telepathic ability? But then
you remember what you think about, and you're like, "Fuck, I don't want anybody reading this."
Well, that's the thing. The trick should be you can read minds. You either can't at all, you can't read minds at all, which is normal, or you get it and it never goes away.
Yes.
And isn't there somebody who does? Isn't that
It's a Mel
movie?
Gibson movie,
Yeah.
What Women Want.
And then doesn't he like kind of go bonkers? Isn't that kind of why he went bonkers in his life? Mel Gibson.
No, if he could have read minds and knew what women want, he would have known to fucking keep his mouth shut when that recorder was on.
Mel Gibson went crazy.
Yeah.
Because he was method and he actually had that power doing what women want.
And he would have known, like, hey man, he would have heard her say, I'm recording him right now in her head, and him been like, I don't care what you do, babe. Hey, do what you want. I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah, you would, if you knew what everybody thought about you, or if there was somebody that knew everything I thought about them, and that's why the whole positive angle is so much better. You don't have to mire yourself in that bullshit. Yeah, I'd say no, I do not want to know. I don't think I can handle that en masse like that. Like where it's like, even if it's like nuanced opinions, like I like this guy but this. I don't like his comedy. I like this guy but this. I like this guy but, or I don't like this guy.
Would you rather? Well, I got two really good questions.
That was a good one already. What's your answer to that one? Let's finish that one first.
I do not want to read anybody's fucking mind. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know how people feel about me. I don't want to know, like, you know, like I know, like, even like the people that like love me the most. Those are the ones that I don't want to hear them be like, God, I love Ray, but he's such a fucking loser. Wow.
That's what I mean.
He's so annoying.
The caveats.
Yes.
It would be like self-esteem tinnitus. You know what I mean?
It
like,
would be brutal.
It would be like, tinnitus, where it's like that ringing in your ears all the time. Besides what they're saying, right? Just having that, it'd be self-esteem schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Because you'd be hearing voices all the time. So even that alone would drive you bonkers in, what, I don't know, 6 months?
Would you rather you be able to read your girlfriend's mind or she could read yours? It's one or the other.
So it's just the one person, and it goes on forever, or it's just for a certain amount of time?
It's for 1 year. Either she can read your mind an entire year, or you can read hers an entire year.
I could read hers an entire year.
That's what I would pick too.
Yeah, that's an easy one because it turns off in a year.
Yeah.
If it was forever, it'd be the same thing.
It would be the same answer forever.
It would lead to a breakup. Nobody
Probably.
said that. Not one. How about this? What about this? How about either only one of you can read minds. Only one of you. You can only read either. She can read your mind, or you can read hers for a year, or you. I just fucked up that.
You messed that all up.
I was gonna say
If you could read my mind right now, dude, I'd be like, what the fuck is he talking about?
I lost my train of thought.
Did he
on
just
that.
have a stroke mid-podcast?
I did. It was bad.
If you could read his mind, I was like, is he trying to rewrite Inception? Is this Inception 2?
If you had a dream within a dream,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you guys, you read each other's minds forever. You both can read each other's minds forever. That would just be.
So it would be horrible.
It'd be horrible.
It would be horrible because a lot of the things that pop through my mind and I think aren't even things I believe.
That's a great point. That's the main point. That sometimes you just think shit and then you're like, oh, I don't mean that. But if somebody gets a little snippet of it.
Sometimes I think the most awful possible things.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Everybody has inner fucked up thoughts. That's what therapy's for.
Well, not even that. Like, I mean, like that's a version of like OCD, is intrusive thoughts, where you just think about like, what if everybody in here just got massacred? It's like, what the fuck?
I don't have that as much as I.
Well, I'm not saying that I have that, but I mean that's a thing that a lot of people deal with. But I just mean like, my id. I think about it like when we're in public or something, like just, wow, what do you think these people would do if I just started walking around with my dick out? Or like something ridiculous, you know what I mean? Like what would these people do?
It's always regarding yourself. Because I have that with like, oh my God, what if I just jumped off this thing right now? But it's not suicidal. I'm like, oh my God, what would happen if you just jumped off this right now? Like just the feeling of it. But I'm not depressed or suicidal.
It's like when you were a kid and your parents yelled at you and then you wish you died so they'd be sad. Yeah.
Or that time, I told you about that time that I had it shows you the difference in thought because I got in trouble and I wrote a whole on a piece of cardboard, oak tag. Remember like the big poster board?
Yeah.
I wrote a long apology note and I wrote my name, my first name really small and my last name huge. And my thought process was I thought I would garner some points because I'm like, look, Donnelly, I'm a Donnelly, like I'm part of the team. I don't know. I was probably like 9 or 10.
Who did you apologize to?
My parents, because they were like, really, I did something really, I forget what it was. And I wrote the note, and they thought they had sent me to therapy because they thought they meant like I thought I was nothing. Like the Sean part was small, the Donnelly part was big. So they thought it was like, oh, you're so depressed. It's maybe you're suicidal. Maybe I think it was maybe 11 or 12 when I did it.
Yeah.
But I had a totally different take on it.
Prime suicide years.
Definitely.
You know what I used to do? I used to write hate notes to my siblings. I'd slide them under their doors.
Did you really?
Yeah, they bullied me really bad. I told you about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like they picked on me, and I would just snap like a little fucking spazzy psychopath. I'd be like, I fucking hate you. I hope you die. Yeah. And I would write notes to them about how much how much I hated them, and then they would be downstairs talking to my mom about how I need to be committed. I was like 7, dude. It's like a little boy getting made fun of by like adults.
Yeah,
getting made fun of by like intelligent people. Like my sister
people who should know better.
Yeah, my sister was in college, and then her dad used to fuck with me too. My
Oh,
stepdad.
really?
Oh, he used to pick on me real bad.
Ah, come on, man.
Fucking
College isn't old enough. I know your sister's a great person, but she should know better now.
She does know better.
Not now. I mean, know better at college.
She does feel bad about it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's I think it's part of the reason, besides just his craziness and alcoholism, why my dad wanted to fight my stepdad. I told you about that.
Yes, you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they just ended up having beers together,
They
right?
ended up just getting blackout drunk together. He like came and met him, and my dad had this whole plan. He was going to shoot Roman candles at his truck and then fight him. And instead, my dad and him buried the hatchet almost immediately and got wasted together.
It'd be great if it was like a kid show where the booby traps with the Roman candles were already set up, and they squashed it, but they still walked past the area where they were.
Yeah.
So your dad was like, "Ah, man, now we're best friends." And they're like walking arm in arm, and they walk by, and your dad goes, "No!" like in slow mo. And he's like, "Shh." And it's like a war scene. And your stepdad is just like, "Blah, blah." I'll tell you this, Ray. I have a new confidence. We used to do this on the pod.
Yeah.
We started probably first couple of months doing this. A new type of confidence. Whistleblower confidence.
Whistleblower confidence?
Whistleblower confidence. As you know, Ray, I am a very big fan of the UFO UAP topic.
Oh, really?
Yes, and there's a whole
Really? You mean the guy that on multiple occasions before we've gotten into a car at night looked up at the sky and goes, "Might be a night to see a UFO. Skies are pretty clear." I'm like, "Would you get in the car, please?"
And then I just play the Dawson's Creek
Yeah.
soundtrack in the background.
So lately, I'm wondering who will be there to take your place.
Yeah, it's like Creed. I don't know it. I'm like, I do the Scott Stapp arm thing as I'm looking into the sky. Take me higher, aliens. So here's the thing, man. But there's a little piece for you in this. This is why I'm
Okay.
bringing it up. I mentioned a little bit of what it is recently. So what ended up happening because of all the action that's going on with UFOs, and now we call them UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
Ugh. Keep them UFOs.
Well, UFOs has too much of a, too much baggage. Anyway, there's been a lot of stuff going on with it with the Congress. They've had multiple hearings about it. They've had multiple people come out of the government saying these things are for real, and the Navy even publicly admitted some of the stuff that our pilots see and people on our ships see is 100%. We have no idea what it is. It's not all. 90% of it, 85% of it is identified. 10% of it unidentified. Whatever it is, right? This leads to a group called Arrow, which is like the new group within the Department of Defense that's in charge of checking out these videos and really looking into the matter. Arrow barely has any funding, any staffing. They've had one hearing so far, I believe, where not much info was given. There was one video shown of this orb in Mosul in Iraq. There's no date attached to it. It's military based. They had no info. The guy who heads it, named Sean Kirkpatrick, he says, but from what we can tell, none of this is alien, and we have no information telling us that it's alien. Cut to this past week and a half. A employee, a decorated veteran who works within the Department of Defense in one of these groups that was supposed to be studying UFOs, Dan Grush, comes out and is an official whistleblower. And what that means is Congress put forth this law that said as long as you go through the proper channels, you can whistleblow on some of these programs, these reverse engineering programs, and UFO-based military programs. You can whistleblow on these with no ramifications to your career or legally, like jail time or anything.
Whistleblowing as in...
Go public.
Okay.
But you're going to go public to people with the right, up the right chain, which is what they were trying to do.
But whistleblowing is saying that people are trying to suppress information.
So here you go. Dan Grush does what he's supposed to. He goes to a lawyer. He gets the whole thing, signed and notarized. He has, under the penalty of law and of perjury, he makes a statement where he says, for decades, the Congress has been lied to, the American public has been lied to, and there are reverse engineering projects and groups going on within the Department of Defense using private contractors in some cases, where they are trying to reverse engineer alien technology that they have acquired through either crash landings or excavations, meaning archaeological digs, where they come across these things. It's been going on in America since they said the 40s. His first known pickup of technology, he said that he was aware the programs were aware of, was in 1933 in Italy, and Mussolini's government was able to find this thing. They make notes about it, and Mussolini makes notes about it in his logs. And then when Mussolini gets ousted, America comes in, makes a deal, and grabs it. That's the first technology they got. Then you had Roswell up until the present, right? His name's Dan Grush. The guy is unimpeachable, credible, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Really?
Absolutely. A fellow Pidian.
A fellow Yinzer.
A Yinzer.
That's
a
what
Yagoff.
we would call us.
A real military Yagoff. Isn't that what we call
Jagoff.
it? Yeah,
Would be a
Jagoff.
Jagoff.
Whatever it is.
Don't. Here's what I'm gonna say is why are they suppressing the information? Why does the government not want you to know?
Okay, so there's multiple theories on this. We don't have to spend too much time on it.
No, we don't.
I really want to let you know about the Pittsburgh
We don't,
connection.
but I have a theory. But I have a thing that kind of, I think, counteracts the main theory I've always heard.
Okay, let's hear it.
This
is why they're suppressing.
This is why the government doesn't want us to know that there is proof of alien life forms. I always thought it was to protect from a panic of us panicking and being scared.
That's the main,
but isn't
like a
that,
war of the world situation.
Yes, but the problem with that is, doesn't it feel like the media and the government is constantly trying to get us to fucking panic about anything else anyways? Doesn't it always feel like now, like especially now, and maybe this is why they're getting looser with the documents now and the information about alien life, is because whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a conservative or a liberal and you're watching the news that's built for you, both sides are just using these like weird panic scare tactics.
Yeah. Okay. So,
does that make sense?
Yes, it makes complete sense. But I think the difference is the panic that they have usually is pitting people against each other. So you can say it's money into politics. It's people hacking Facebook. It's disasters. It's even some people have the theories about COVID, overreacting about COVID, whatever it is, right?
This is a panic that might bring us together.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I just did a great podcast. It's called the Conspiracy Beer Me Podcast. These comics from North Carolina do it. J.D. Scranton and Shane Smith and what you call it? So I just talked with them for an hour and a half, so it's fresh in my mind here. I think what ends up happening is it's not just. I think it's all, they say it's all about money. I think what they're worried about is if you falter the confidence in the public and you give them something that fucks with their reality. The JD was saying this. You go for broke. Nothing's worth anything. If you go to a bunch of religious people, none of the good you did matter anyway, because we're on a different interdimensional plane. And yeah, everything that you know about what's going on is in your it's very, very heady. But yeah. I mean, everything's just your consciousness anyway. And there's other people that know how to warp the space-time that you thought was a constant. So that's the theory about these crafts. The way they get here from wherever they're from, either interdimensional or from somewhere else, is they are warping space-time. They have their own sources of gravity, which we can't do. Gravity is a constant. Gravity has, they have, what is it, when the rock falls off the thing, it goes at 9 point whatever. They all both fall at the same thing as gravity. That's the whole point. The whole point is that it changes the minute that they say these things are real. It changes our physics. And if you change somebody's physics, you change their reality. And then the panic you have in your hands is these guys have a lot of money and a lot of things, right? The markets go down. There's more violence. Or not even violence. I think it would just be a money-based thing. Economies would go down. The power structure would go down. If you released what they know into the public, and let them work on it, which could solve a lot of world problems. They don't think it would bring everybody together on the planet, but it could solve a lot of energy problems because the only people who are allowed to see this stuff now, the rumor is like a Grumman or a Lockheed Martin, like a government-based contractor, which is basically just saying another extended arm of the government.
Yeah.
And this is more apparent with this information now because if you really gave it to all the scientists that you have in America and you said, hey, here's all the info, it'd be reverse engineered, I think, way, way faster. But,
what do you want out of it all?
I want to know, first off, I want to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's real. But I got to be honest, I've been into this thing for a few years. I'm not tinfoil hat guy. I think I have a little bit of a not debunker, a skeptic in me. I think I'm pretty healthy when it comes to it. I have a lot of fun with it. I joke around about it.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter, I want solid, like this is proof. I got to be honest. This guy to me, as long as they say he is what he is, there's so much of this. There's so much of it that I'm like, okay, this narrative I'll believe is true. This military narrative I think is true.
I will say I don't think that you're like a crackpot.
I'm not a crackpot
about it,
no.
or necessarily a full blown conspiracy theorist.
No.
But you do get conspiracy theory voice when you're talking about this. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm an animated.
Where you kind of fumble over your words a little bit. It's a lesser version of what you do theatrically on stage when you do the alien bit that you've been closing with, where you're like so this guy, and it's what he's doing here. It's not anything that we've ever seen in modern science, and you get so fired up about it. And I you could be lying to me.
I totally could, but I'm not. So I have had multiple coffees today.
Sure.
I have ADD.
And you're you.
I'm not a physician. I'm not a physician. See, that's how dumb I am. I'm not a physicist. So as I'm doing it, I'm like a toddler. I'm learning it as I'm talking about it because I'm hearing people say stuff and I'm like, this seems right. So I'm like, hey, it's the isotopes and the materials of the. I'm even the moron who's like, I don't understand it fully, but I do believe serious people that have really nothing to gain
you
and aren't
explaining
selling
that
a book
to me,
or a movie.
Anybody listening to this right now that heard you give me the explanation about that dude from Pittsburgh that's trying to save us all.
Did it come off like I knew what I was talking? Did it sound believable to you?
It came off like you knew what you were talking to, but also it came off very intense. You get this little bit
you're
of
very excited about it.
You get this little bit of intensity, and it's like, oh shit.
You know
really
why?
Cares about this. I don't think I talk about anything like that.
Because it would be the reason why I'm so excited about it is because if, say, bar none, proof positive, you had the president come out tomorrow. They were saying this in the podcast too. He's like, what would it take for you to believe that this is all for real? So it's like, say you had, so whatever it is, whatever your version of that is, say that happened tomorrow for everybody at once, which would never happen because we're so divided and we're humans and everybody wants to pretend they know what they know.
What
everything.
would it take for me?
Yeah.
Is you to just be like, hey, it's all real.
Right. Because you don't care as much. Here's the thing. It'd be knowing this, it's the biggest story in the history of humanity that humans aren't the only life within, you know what I'm saying? Like it's intelligent life. So that's why I think I get so excited about it because I'm dying to know before I die what it is, maybe where it's from, what the reasoning is. It kind of answers the what is the meaning of life thing a little bit more.
But you need a lot of proof. I'm not a gullible.
I'm at the point now I've gotten my proof that I think there's things that I think are batshit. I can tell you about one of those. It's actually pretty great in a second if you want.
Yeah.
There's things that I go, I'm out. I've done that. I'm out. Sorry, I'm out.
I'm not a gullible person by any means. I just think when it's a topic that I'm pretty indifferent about, which is most things, I'm starting to realize this as I get older.
I'm the same way.
I'm not passionate about much.
Same here.
It's literally like my friends, my family, comedy, and movies.
But movies, I'm movies. That's why I wish I was a hardcore sports guy in a way, not like a
and just the Steelers. It's not like all sports. Like people were like, who you think's gonna take the NBA? That's something I lie about. going back to that.
Sports.
I lie about sports, and I like love sports, and I watch sports, and like I've played them, and like I get it. I'm not like a nerd who's like, well, how can people be into sports? Who really cares? But like, I just don't feel like I'd rather zone out and stare at a wall sometimes than pay attention to a sporting event sometimes, because I'm so like, I'm like worn out from it. I've been so and I have my team, and I can't put any more energy
I think
into
that's also
anything
with
more
sports
than that.
can be, as long as if you're still excited about sports, I think that's good, because that's a sign of maturity in a way. If there's people that lose their minds when you see those videos of people crying, or that video I showed you in what was that college game? I remember you knew the teams. It was Ohio versus something. I think I showed you the video of people almost assaulting, coming close to assaulting this dude that had the opposite teams. He was trying to troll them.
Sure.
He was walking around and.
Well, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I care about football. I know a lot about like football. And
let me ask you this though, like we're talking about, when you're watching a Steelers game, are you getting a little bit butterfly? Are you getting like?
Yeah.
There you go. That's all you need. That's excited about something.
But I'm talking about the way that I just heard you talk about this alien shit. The way that I hear some people talk about some things, I wonder. I'm like, am I that passionate about anything? And like outside of the normal thing, and I think movies is, but that's kind of a lame one. So many people like movies. It's not niche.
Well, it doesn't have to be obscure.
I know. I cried watching scenes from Good Will Hunting drunk the other night.
See, I can relate to that. I don't know if I've done it to go behind planes, trains, and automobiles. I've cried to that drunk.
I mean, I didn't watch the movie. I was seeking out
on YouTube.
Random.
I know
what
you mean. I've done it. I've done the same thing. Yeah, but that's being into something, and there's nothing wrong. Even though here's the thing. I got to be honest. It is becoming obscure. Not as many people care about movies as they used to, and they don't have the same cachet as they had. But the only thing I have is like I got excited about my opinions about like Texas, like barbecue, and I'm wanting to learn that. During the pandemic, I was going to get a trumpet and try to learn that, and I couldn't motivate myself.
What's the weirdest? Is that the weirdest thing that you want to learn how to do?
A trumpet? No. There was something that I was like, I want to learn this. Barbecue was probably that's not the weirdest, I guess. But the fact that I bought a smoker and tried to use it indoors, or didn't use it indoors, bought almost a $500 smoker when I lived in Long Island City. That shows you how into it I was, and that's the weird part. And then I live in Queens, and I bought one out here, an offset, and my landlord let me chain it to her back.
I've seen
steps.
You cook out there.
Yeah. That's a little weird. That becomes weird because I live in the middle of New York City, and I'm not.
It's not a
back of a house
barbecue
somewhere.
place.
Exactly. And then, the piano was one of them. Like, so instruments. But as far as like, I'm like macrame or something like that. Like there's nothing like that where I'm like something that's against the ground. Like I'm pretty on the trumpet's the only. Or the instrument I don't look like I'd want to learn piano maybe.
There was a summer when I was in my early 20s where I was doing specific exercises and training to be able to dunk a basketball.
Here's the thing. I don't think that's weird because that's just like exercise, and then you're if I did it, that'd be weird. Like I'm 5'8". At any age, at any shape, it's not really
happening.
Dunking. Guys can do it, but I don't have the wherewithal or the hand-eye coordination to do that.
You know what? Speaking of Good Will Hunting, you know what I taught myself to do once?
Oh, we got to get to that also. The other thing after this because you're on top.
Yeah.
What?
When he lists off his brothers, Ricky, Mikey, Tommy, Bobby, Jimmy, and you know.
You taught yourself the whole thing?
I learned it for a while for no reason.
I kind of like that though. That shows the love of movies.
Yeah.
That's not the scene. The scene at the bar with Casey Affleck, and he's gonna tell the joke, and he's telling the joke, and he goes, "Was it fireworks?" And he's like, "You've heard this." It's such a great. I know what you're it's such a great natural acting moment. Like I like you wonder if it was riffed. I don't think it was, to be honest. But it's such great acting, and the brothers on top of it, which makes it even a better moment in the movie. But you brought up a really great movie point that I'd love for you to tell everybody about.
Well, it was it's tied into me watching the YouTube videos.
Right, of course.
So I got blacked out drunk. and somehow I was with my girlfriend, and Natalie claimed that she'd never seen Good Will Hunting. I got mad about it.
Hold on, before you start the discussion, can I tell you what I did drunk the other night?
What?
I messaged Matt Rife.
No, you didn't. Pause on whatever the fuck dumb shit I was just talking about. You drunk message Matt Rife?
I say, you up? No. No, it was such an influx in my... I was drunk, and I was such an influx in the Matt Rife hate on my Facebook page. And then somebody told me at a bar, at a show, they go, everybody's talking about this Matt Rife. I don't see it. I go, I saw tons of it. And then I continued to drink for the night. And I realized, I don't know if I met the guy. I got home, I followed him. I go, I don't think we ever met. Hey, great job on the tour. Good luck with the tour.
Did he respond?
I'm 45. No, he didn't respond.
I'm 45.
He didn't respond. I don't even care if he responds. It's not even about that. It's about, you were talking about like the drunk, you're doing the Good Will Hunting drunk thing. I'm like, you're getting your, as the kids say, you're getting your feels. I was getting in my feels.
Dude, I was in my feels. I was fucking crying.
Yeah. I wasn't crying about Matt Rife. That would have been.
Yeah, you were.
I was not crying about Matt Rife. But
dude, that is so
isn't
funny.
That fun?
Remember, when I was going through that phase where I was getting blacked out drunk and DMing Rob Thomas.
Yeah, I was thinking of that just now as I was talking about this. But I just wanted to. I don't know. The guy doesn't know me. I never met him. I actually thought he lived in New York. I thought I might have met him. Maybe I met him. But I was more like, really, it makes me really hate this business with what goes on with Matt Rife. If we can take a pause, if you want to talk about that, we can.
I agree. You know, kind of made me, the Matt Rife clip I saw recently that kind of made me mad.
Which one?
Is he was on Bert Kreischer's podcast, and they both talk about how sweet Ralphie May was and how nice Ralphie May was to Matt Rife.
And he was an asshole?
He was so mean to me.
I've heard stories about him being a dick.
Yeah.
And it sucks. Sucks you're dead, I guess, and your family suffers, but I've heard he was a dick.
Because I was kind of like, damn, he's so fucking nice to this dude. He was like 15 and barely ever did stand-up. I was like, well in, I'm respectful, I know what I'm doing, and he just wanted nothing to do with me.
Well, I think I have a take on that. Do you think there was a following the lead situation on that conversation? You ever have somebody bring up somebody that's kind of a dick, and then maybe Bert did it first, maybe he did it first, and he was like, he's great, and then his head he's going, what are you talking about? He's a piece of shit.
Fair.
And also, maybe Ralphie May was having a bad day when he met you. I highly doubt it. But also,
well, he was going through a divorce.
There you go. But also, he did those talks where he was like those free comedy business talks. Maybe because the guy was 15, he was like, he liked you know.
Yeah, maybe it was something. I don't know.
I don't know. I just know that I've heard all other stories about him being an asshole. But the guy's dead. I don't want to get into it. But I think what can happen in those podcasts, also, there's phony fucks. Maybe Matt Rife's a phony fuck and he doesn't like him. Maybe Bert can be phony. Who the fuck knows?
Maybe Matt Rife's not a phony fuck. Maybe Matt Rife actually is like a good guy.
I've heard he's a nice guy. But here's the thing.
What the fuck? You know, you get so like my truthful opinion about him as a stand-up and what he does on stage doesn't mean shit.
Same here.
So it's like, regardless of what I think, regardless if I think he's funny, regardless if I think he's hacky, regardless if I think what he does is annoying, he's extremely successful. He's skyrocketed in this business about as fast as anybody I've seen.
But apparently that's another myth. He's been doing it 12 years, apparently.
Yeah,
he's been doing comedy for a long time, this kid.
But from the first time I heard his name to now,
it's like 2 weeks that he gained
craziness.
And then my thing, what I was telling people, I guess I don't know. Should we keep going talking about this?
We could talk about another minute or so.
My thing was I told people, I went to a show the other day and I go, if you have anybody who's like, this is what the kind of things that are being written online was like, so what, he's good looking but has no jokes and he gets ahead? Hey, man, yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, that's kind of how show business goes. You can make the argument it's not how all stand-up can be thought of it sometimes, and there's different people, there's like this club type mentality. But guess what? A lot of anything that's coming out, any hate for this guy that's coming out, 9.5 times out of 10, it's envy, including myself. Any initial thoughts I have, it's out of envy because you're like, fuck, I'd love to have this guy's career. And maybe you're funny, maybe you're not, but guess what? It doesn't matter. And sometimes life's not fair. Life's not fair
most of the time, it's fucking not.
Maybe you're hilarious, but guess what? You did something that didn't get you to that point, so it sucks for you. What can I tell you?
Colin Chamberlain actually had maybe the best Matt Rife takes that I've heard recently.
Really?
Is that he said...
I'm shocked.
He said he's basically He's like AI comedy. Like, he is built for what the algorithm wants. He's beautiful to look at. He's fucking, young. He's likable in a sense to a certain demographic.
That's a good point.
And he's doing jokes about, he's goofing around about things that are popular.
Yeah.
And kind of in like
nailed every bullet point.
And then he's wearing like even down to the clothes he wears. He's wearing, in one video, he's wearing a shirt that says Brendan fucking Fraser. And it's like,
right,
of course,
it's,
man.
Right,
like,
but then it's almost like why I think it gets everybody gets in their panties in a twist in comedy when this thing happens is because it happens. First off, where you been? It happens all the time.
Yeah,
and just different versions of it at whatever's hot at that moment. But secondly, if we were in music, this would be a Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many Matt Rifes are there in music?
True.
It's just what he did was not that I'm saying this on purpose, but what you're describing is somebody taking all the pop culture stuff and just turning it into a great sellable package and being like, there you go. And then the algorithm being like, yes.
Good for him. Fuck it. Good for him. Great for him.
Of course, good for him. Who cares? That's another age
and
thing. You're not in competition with Matt Rife. That's another thing I had to realize.
Yeah, everybody talking shit on Matt Rife. You're not in competition for
You're
it.
gross.
You know why? Because he's blowing your ugly ass out of the water. If you think you're in if I thought that I was in competition with Matt Rife, I was like, an eating competition? That's about the only one I'm winning. Hey, if we're Joey Chestnut and hot dogs, I'm beating him. But if we're talking about in show business, Matt Rife has about lapped me 400 times.
Yeah, how about this? All comedians. I say this is a blanketed statement. You're not in competition with Matt Rife. You're gross. Even the hot ones. Even though I think they're hot. I don't think this kid sweats. I don't think he shits.
He comes ice cream. Oh man, is that so funny?
Like, yeah,
dude, that is the funny. You're not a competition with that, Rife. You're gross.
It's true. It's so true. It's one of these things where it's like, and I'm not. There's no high road here. I'm in the same boat. Same exact boat. I've had all the same feelings, all the same things. I'm gross as well.
Yeah.
I'm gross. You're fucking gross. This guy just nailed it. Like he nailed the thing where it's like, hey, you have a personality and but you're right. It's exactly what's wanted right now. The same way that like you have the story about Dane Cook and Dane Cook I actually think is a funny guy and I've had him on the Sirius show and I think he had taken a lot of abuse after all that happened.
For sure.
But guess what? In the late 90s. That's what was wanted. And also the way that he did it was almost like a baby version of what Matt Rife is because he was making his own algorithm. Remember those stories about Dane Cook doing the AIM?
Oh, he dominated.
And then Chris D'Elia tried it, but it didn't work out. Couple youngins over there. But the fact being is that anytime this happens, any teen idol type thing, for lack of a better phrase, it's just the way of the world, man. It's just the way that it happens. So let's lay off the guy. And we just talked about him for 15 minutes straight.
I think next time I get drunk, I'm messaging Matt Rife.
I can't believe that I did it.
I'm gonna group message him and Dane Cook. And Rob Thomas.
I just write game recognizes game.
Hey, bros, I'm going to try to lump myself in with them. Isn't it crazy when you make it to the mountaintop, everybody's gunning for them, huh? Everybody's gunning for dudes like us. Hey, target's on our backs, huh? Right, fellas? I know you've been there years ago, Dane, Matt. I know me and you are dealing with it right now, but...
Oh, my God, dude. But yeah, so good luck, Matt. The guy's doing a global tour, and look at those guys. Those guys work hard. They work really hard. It doesn't matter if they're working hard at the thing that you went to 15 open mics last week. Guess what? They figured out the things that you're actually supposed to be working at to get to that point.
Yeah, guess what?
It's both. It is both.
You went to 15 open mics this week. Matt Rife posted a video of him talking about some old broad's tits, and got 1 million followers from it.
But yeah,
he's my new favorite comic.
He is
him and Jeremy Piven.
Jeremy Piven.
Those are my two favorites.
Jeremy Piven, great actor. Sorry, we're kind of past the point where we can say that now. I think again.
What?
You weren't allowed. You weren't embargo on complimenting Jeremy Piven. Always been a great character actor.
You know what I want to get to?
The best was remember not to keep digging a hole for ourselves with this Hollywood stuff, but like, did you remember the Jeremy Piven take on his own thing where when he first got canceled, whatever you want to call it?
No.
And he was like, "Listen, everybody thinks I'm all right. I'm just a working actor." It's like, no, you're not. Let's relax. You were famous, dude. Like, you're famous. Let's relax. Yeah.
You're one of the biggest TV stars.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody.
Entourage.
And also, like,
Entourage.
So, but Jeremy Piven, really funny guy.
We're running out of time a little bit. We could talk about my Robin Williams love another time, but
okay, we can talk about next. We'll tease it.
Something that I did want to say is I am kind of realizing, like, I feel like a lot of audiences that I've seen at comedy shows recently, especially with some of these like pop-up comedy shows, are really young, and I think I'm at a weird age, and I'm a weird like semi-older soul. And I don't think people are getting certain references anymore. Like, I think my reference game needs updated pretty harshly. I made a John Goodman reference on stage the other day, and there's like 20 people in the audience, all younger, and nobody laughed at the joke. And I was like, I mean, it wasn't a great line, but it
usually gets a laugh.
Usually gets something. And I was like, wait a second, do you not know who John Goodman is?
And what'd they say?
And they were like, no. I was like, how old are you?
First off, I'd like to ask you, what do you think? Who are you talking? Like, I'm 45. I go and do these shows. The shows you're talking about, I do. And I know exactly what you're talking. I mentioned the Smurfs one day, and I was like, you don't know what the fucking Smurfs are?
It's weird.
It's very weird.
Because then I made the mistake a little later, and this is what I was getting. This is what you made me think of when you said about the Piven, we can now say he's a good actor. Is I did an old joke. So have you ever just had like flow into an old joke you haven't done in a while?
100%.
And then while you're going through it, one of two things happens. One,
somebody died in the joke.
Well, no, that's hilarious though. Has that happened to you? Mm-hmm. Wait,
I forget which one happened a while ago.
One, you don't remember the joke. You're like, oh fuck, I don't remember how this goes.
Done that.
Or it's about something that no longer can be talked about.
Yes.
So the joke is, and I can do it differently now, is it's just about like, it sucks blacking out drunk now because everybody has camera phones and post shit on social media. So I wake up every morning with these 10-second documentaries of my blackout that I really need to see that I stood on a stool with a little bit of piss on the front of my jeans, singing Remix to Ignition at the top of my lungs.
Oh, right.
And then I was
like,
just
switch out the song.
Yeah, I could just switch out the song, but I just went into the old habit of this really old joke. I mean, it's a very old joke of mine. And
it kind of still works with the piss and the...
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Wow. And then I go, fuck. You didn't know who John Goodman is. I also don't think you know R. Kelly was actually a really good R&B singer and not just a rapist.
They laugh at that? No. Dude, I had the same issue you had one day that my reference was so bad, I didn't even know, like, that's what sometimes I'll do this. Well, I'll say Smurfs or I'll say Growing Pains or some like old sitcom, and I'll go, why am I even saying that? I'm like, this is how old I am. And I mentioned being old. One day, I went, did my set, talked about that, about being, old, getting older, and then it was such an old reference. The host came back up and he goes, Sean was talking about being old. You didn't even mention how you called that girl's bag a pocketbook. Like, he was like, it was such an old reference. I didn't even. I'm thinking it's like, hey, not a big deal. Your pocketbook. Hey, you have your pocketbook on your lap, and then that's an old word as well. And I'm like, oh, that didn't even occur to me during the set.
I like when somebody has an old reference and it's also insanely inappropriate. Like I was at a bar with my uncle one time, and he was like, hey, can you get the barmaid's attention? I was like, barmaid? Excuse me? And she was like, yeah, she is. I said, no, dude, you don't. And then she comes over and he doubles down and goes, hey, what would you call you? Like a barmaid? And she goes, I'm a bartender. He's like, all right, sorry, hon. And it's like, then he called her hon.
Tops it up with a hon. I had one that wasn't it wasn't a sexist route, but it was I think up until way longer than I was supposed to, with my friends, because I think my dad called it that. I would say want to meet at the pizza parlor. I would say pizza parlor.
And then we'll go to the soda shop.
I'll spend a nickel and take my lady on a ride.
And then if we want, we could peek backstage and see all the flapper girls getting ready.
Yeah, I would say pizza parlor for like years and years.
Oh, man.
Well, this has been a fun one, my friend.
This was fun.
We learned a lot about Matt Rife and his sexuality and our sexuality and just what? Oh, that's not what it was? I thought we were like talking in code.
Were you reading my mind? Did you get the mind reading power midway?
Yes. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. You can check us out on TikTok. Also, YouTube.
Please check out the YouTube. Brand New Jerks YouTube. We got our shorts. We got full video episodes on there. I think that's the most fun way to consume the podcast because you get to see us goof and you get to see the things that we laugh about not as audibly. And you get to see how gross we are compared to Matt Rife. If you do want to see us individually, we're also posting our pod clips on our individual Instagrams. He's at Shawnee Time. I'm at Raby Killing Him.
Also on the road, we have a July gig together, but I'm going to be going to Toronto June 22nd, I believe it is for Gary Goldman's taping. I'm going to be opening up, and then I'll be in Dallas, the House of Comedy, and then the House of Comedy in Minneapolis at the end of July. So come see all that, and I'll talk about it again. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time, right?
Bye.
You want to do the
we
high
haven't
five?
done a handshake in a while.
Should we do the Bartholomew from Spaceballs?
What's the Bartholomew? I've
See,
never
it's an
seen
old
Spaceballs.
Ooh, say I win.
No, just hold on. I've seen Spaceballs. It's funny.
That was a lie?
Yeah.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.